Welcome to Sound Values, powered in part by LSA Burger and Classic of Denton.
Gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight on DentonRadio.com. We are located in the beautiful Discover Denton Welcome Center on the ever lovely Denton Square. Looking very, very festive, very holiday out there right now. I'm liking the lighting of the trees. I've got a very special guest in here tonight. The man, the myth, the legend, graces us with his presence here in Denton. Once again, he's been out for a while. Aaron, also known as AC Capers. How's it going, my man?
Doing all right, boss. How are you?
Doing good. Doing very well, man. So, thanks for coming out. I know it's not a short drive for you, so I appreciate it, man. Just kind of a little backstory on like how I met you, because that was a pretty fun experience.
Agreed.
There was an event going on at the Monk. One guy couldn't make it. You came out to play with a band, and what's the name of that band?
Loyal Sally.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, Loyal Sally. You came out to play with them, and I had a buddy who had DJ'd, I think. Yeah, I had a buddy who was DJing, and the other act didn't come to play.
Right.
And so I just started playing, and then you showed up and started setting up your drums.
Yep.
And then you started playing drums over the beat I was playing. I started rapping, and then we had a great time for like the next 7.5 minutes.
Oh, hands down.
So that was a good time, man. So and then then you kind of become Facebook friends and social media friends, Instagram and all that. And I started seeing some other cool stuff. I was like, oh, this guy's involved with a lot of different drumming and a lot of at the Mavericks games and at the Dallas Observer Music Awards and all kinds of stuff, man. So I'm always intrigued by drummers too.
That's fair.
Drummers are a special breed. If you ask me. So the first question that I have for you, man, just to kind of learn some stuff about you, is what is your like first musical memory, the thing that you remember?
The first musical memory. Honestly, it's waking up on like a Sunday. I couldn't have been more than like 6 years old, and my dad was playing some Isley Brothers, and he was just sitting down for the first time. I actually saw him just like strumming through some bass patterns, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, what are you doing? He's like, I used to play bass. I was like, what? You did what? He's like, yeah, listen to this bass line right here. It just soothes. And goes to the next track, goes to an Earth, Wind, and Fire track, and shows me how the bass just moved a whole different way. And it's like the same instrument, same exact instrument, completely different genre and feel, and how just the bass guitar just changed everything. And that was a moment I looked at music completely differently.
Nice.
And
very cool.
I would say that's my first musical moment.
Interesting. I think that sometimes like the music that I listen to in like, my teens, like 13 through like probably 17, really lacked a lot of dynamic like bass playing. I feel like it was a lot of picking and just, that kind of stuff. There wasn't a lot of that smooth groove that you find in that earlier 60s and 70s soulful Soul Train kind of music.
Exactly, there wasn't.
And that was something that my dad was really attracted to. When I asked him, like, what did you listen to? He's like, I listened to, some Johnny Cash and some of this, but he was like, I really liked Soul Train and that kind of music because it had that smooth groove,
Absolutely.
My pops does not think that Casey and the Sunshine Band is actual funk music. He disagrees.
I understand where he's coming from. That was the pop.
Yeah, that's what he says. It's like that's too mainstream. It's cool, man. I like how you're just sitting there and Dad's just fiddling on the bass, and it has changes that instinct. So when did you? A lot of people tend to play what they see. See someone playing the guitar, they play the guitar, the bass. But you are a percussionist. What drew you to the drums? How'd you get started on that?
The easy answer is I wanted to be different from my dad.
Okay.
Logically, I look like him. My body figure is his. I have hairy arms. This is him. We have the same toes. He's a basketball player. I was a basketball player. So I just wanted to be different from him at the end of the day. And one thing that he always appreciated were the drums.
Nice.
So me being the stock child with ADD, I drummed on anything and everything. I was super fidgety with my fingers, super fidgety with my hands. And my mom just noticed. And she's just a very observant woman, so she just noticed. And she's like, well, we're going to put you in band. And this is right around like 6th grade or so. And I wanted to play a trumpet originally. The school I was at, Cesar Chavez Learning Center in downtown Dallas, ran out of trumpets.
Oh.
So they wanted to put me on tuba. I was
Okay.
like, nah, I don't want to play a tuba. It's like, well, we can just put you in the back of the class then. It's like, cool, I guess I'm just going to sit in the back of the class. And that's where all the drummers went, was
Okay.
the back of the class. So that was where I got started with that. Second was my mom took a notice to that and was like, well, he actually looks like he's enjoying it. He's not bored. So when we went to church on Sundays, we went to the Potter's house, and she had us. She had me sit behind the lead drummer at the time, Gino Lock Johnson,
Okay.
and I got to sit back and just watch him play. So I got to study him every Sunday. He was also, at the time, he was a drummer with Erykah Badu.
Oh, okay.
And,
Yeah, that's a big name.
Huge.
Big name. Yeah.
And I had the luxury of sitting next to a cat named Brian Harmon, incredible jazz drummer. And
Nice.
Brandon Price, BP, is currently on the road gigging with somebody right now.
Okay.
But he's in Friday's Foolery.
Very cool. So you're sitting behind some dudes who definitely knew what they were doing.
Right. Well, at that time, we were all kids. Like,
Okay.
3 of us were just kids.
Okay.
So they've grown to do, like, awesome things. I went a different route. And
Okay.
chose the drum line, the rudimental route, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to playing drum set. Now I'm starting to, well, I'm not regretting it, but
Mm-hmm.
wish I'd spent more time on the drum set side of things.
I see. So what's that difference between, like you're saying, you went that more rudimentary route playing, a drum. How did you put it?
Oh, this marching drums in
Okay,
general.
yeah, marching drums compared to a drum kit. So what's the kind of the difference that you've experienced there going from one to the other?
The biggest difference is one is geared towards a different type of performance.
Okay.
Drum set's all about performance and playing in time and keeping the band accountable for themselves, and you're pretty much the drill sergeant,
Okay.
which is great. Like,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
sitting back there. Your job is to play in time, keep everybody else in time, and keep the energy up or keep the energy mellow. Whatever the track deserves is what you give them.
Yeah.
Marching band's very much way more syndicated. This is the music you're going to learn. You are going to play in time. Your dynamics are all written for you. There is no feel. This is just
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
So know your role, do your job, and do the same thing, and we'll make it better.
It's very gear and pulley.
Yes.
This goes here, almost robotic in a way. And it kind of,
Exactly.
even when you see those above views, of marching bands and they go and they do those wild movements, it's like what is that? It's like synchronized swimming.
To an extent,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So it looks very tedious.
Right. It's all about the bigger picture with marching
Mm-hmm.
bands. Playing drum set, it's not about the bigger picture all the time because,
Mm-hmm.
again, your goal is to put on a entertaining product for the crowd.
Yeah.
It's less about the drummer, or at least in my roles as a drummer. It's less about me. It's more about the overall product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that overall product is stationary. It stands still.
Yeah.
Marching band's more about a visual aspect because you're doing something that people think they can do, but they can't.
Okay. Did you go to a big high school? Because most of the time, big high schools are what have marching bands. Where did you go to school?
James Bowie in Arlington.
Okay. Yeah. So if you're definitely in those areas, you're gonna have
Oh,
quite a few kids in that school, man. So
absolutely.
did you end up like taking that into college when you for that? And then were you in any bands while in high school and kind of growing up? Did you play in any other bands, or what music were you interested in growing up?
Ooh, okay. I'll break all of those down. While in high school, I didn't play any drum set at all.
Okay.
I did jazz band, I was in like the second jazz band, so it was just stock cover tunes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, como va. Can you learn patterns? Yes.
All right.
Outside of that, I'm bored. But I focused way more heavy on the marching side of things because there was just a broader world outside of just like high school marching band. There's WGI, which is Winter Guard International. They built a percussion line or incorporated a percussion line. So it's like indoor percussion where it was just drums and just front ensemble, which is like your keyboards and mallet instruments. And they would put shows together based on that.
Okay.
So I participated in a group called Insignia and then a group called Surround Sound Percussion while I was in high school.
Okay.
I did that all the way. I did surround sound from 2005 to 2008. Graduated in 2005. Went to Stephen F. Austin on a musical scholarship.
Okay.
Dropped out in 2008. Moved back here. Continued with that, the marching aspect of things. Started teaching a little bit.
Okay.
Joined a drum corps, which is another type of marching band. Except we tour the country.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew a girl who went to UNT, and she went to Japan and did all kinds of wild stuff all over the place.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of them in this area. There's plenty of people who march drum corps.
Okay.
Plenty, and they all go to UNT. I marched with a group from Colorado called the Blue Knights,
Okay.
and that really that set everything in motion as far as,
Mm-hmm.
wow, okay, so this is all I'm doing for an entire summer is learning 11 minutes worth of music. So can we do something else? So we did. We set up this whole little bass ensemble. Me and the 5 guys in my section, or the 4 other guys in my section, we did our own thing away from the show, where we still focused on the show. That was what we paid our money to do, was put this show together. But we also had our own agendas where we wanted to showcase our own talents. And
Yeah, for sure.
the Blue Knights allotted us the opportunity to do that.
So are these groups that you're a part of more of like a competitive kind of drum corps where you go
Yes.
to tournaments, and or are they known as tournaments, or like
Basically, I mean, they're just called competitions.
okay, that's the
But-
word I was
But they
more
are
looking
they are
for.
tournaments at the end of
Yeah.
the day. Just no like knockouts.
Yeah.
So the goal is you start off in your spring training. Once you're done with that, you hit the road. The goal from hitting the road is to go to finals. So between where you start and finals, you have X amount of regionals that you have to hit,
Okay.
and you could either do a East Coast tour, Midwest tour, or West Coast tour. So you build your regionals around that. We're going to do a Midwest tour. So all of our regionals are going to be here, 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 and here, and our goal is to get to Indianapolis.
Okay.
So you find schools that you go to, rehearse at, crash at, do small shows, get all the reps you can, go to a regional, make some changes, slew of other rehearsal days, small shows, to the next regional, onwards to Indianapolis. And that's
It's like going on tour.
Yeah,
But
it's
pretty intense.
It's exactly what it
And
is.
training, yeah.
That's exactly what it is. So I've never been more prepared for the life that I'm living now,
Yeah.
all thanks to that 4-month excursion.
All that experience. Yeah. So when did you start to when was the first time you sat down at a drum kit besides, jazz band?
When I dropped out of school, which was around 2007, 2008, me and my neighbor is a bass guitarist named Nathan Bacon. Can't make that name up if I tried. He convinced me to, splurge on a drum set.
Okay.
And it's like, we're going to start something. It's like, all right, cool. Do you have a guitarist? He's like, I've got 2.
All right.
This cat named John Mark Stanley. He was Stephen Stanley and the Mercs.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they're pretty awesome.
Okay.
Pretty awesome. I've sat in on a show with theirs, and I've actually sat in and played with them at a random show, just like I sat in and played with you.
Yeah.
I
That was fun.
I showed up to a gig early. Their drummer couldn't make it. I didn't find out until I got there. I was like, "Hey, can you sit in with us?" Sure.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I played with him since our original band, which was called Authery.
Okay. So what kind of music were you sitting in with, and were you playing?
We made video game music.
Okay.
We took 8-bit, Mega Man, some Mario, Castlevania, and they would learn the riffs on
Okay.
guitars. And it was these 2 dudes, Jeff and Mark, they would just sit there and just throw down all of these riffs, and I just threw a groove under what they were doing, and
Yeah.
they loved it because it
That's
wasn't
what's
what
up.
the 8-bit was, and we
Yeah.
could take it in a whole different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And the bassist loved it because I was a funk drummer because I grew up listening to funk.
Yeah.
So I'm just a funky drummer.
All right.
He's a funky bassist, and they're throwing down all these overdubbed 8-bit music on live guitars, super crazy melodies and all this.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, so this is fun. And we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't
Just
know.
having a good time.
Exactly.
Just playing music. So you start playing, with other people, playing behind a drum set. Did you still continue to stick with the drum corps and the kind of the marching, more of the marching styles throughout that? And then
Yeah.
how do you balance? All right, I guess the real question, how do you kind of balance those 2 different lives there?
Well, ideally, they go hand in hand because a professional is a professional at the end of the day. You don't take a gig unless you can absolutely take the gig.
Yeah.
If you can't take the gig, you let everybody know ahead of time. And that's how you micromanage yourself and don't shoot yourself in the foot,
Yeah.
essentially. So after a while, it just became another gig. I've done the marching stuff for so long. I taught it. I've done it. I'm
Yeah.
still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just another job at this
Yeah.
point. Somebody says, hey, I need a drummer for this. I'll be there.
Okay.
Same way if somebody says, hey, we've got a show on this day. Can you make it? Yes, I can make it.
Mm-hmm.
So that aspect's the exact same. Hands-wise, it keeps my hands moving.
Mm-hmm.
And just keeps me fresh. I'm always thinking about drumming, thinking about how I can change the gig and excuse me, in some form or fashion. What can we do to make this better? What could I have done to make it better? Like, that never stops.
Yeah. Okay. Right on. I could completely understand that. You know,
Oh, yeah.
I'm always thinking that. Always going back and rechecking that one little EQ. Ooh, that one spot was just a little too loud right there.
Right.
So I can understand always thinking and always always moving. So you know, as far as turning, you know, drumming into, you know, a career in a ways, you know, how does one go about doing that?
Well, you buy into yourself.
Okay.
You literally have to sit down with yourself and wonder, what do I want to do with this? Do I just want to do it for fun?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I want to be noticed? Or do I even just want to just pursue music?
Mm-hmm.
And do I want to take the gamble? And a lot of people don't know if they want to, so they, you know, tiptoe in it. And which is kind of like what I did. I just had a foot in the door already because I had already done X amount of drum gigs in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had become being noticed because I was the black guy on the Mavs drum line.
Okay.
Like, and to
Yeah.
be fair, like, I was the first, like, full timer.
Yeah.
Like, the first African American full timer there.
Nice.
So that was kind of a thing.
Okay.
So
very
it's like,
cool.
oh, I'm being noticed for this.
Mhm.
And I became noticed outside of it because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, I can't run from it.
Yeah.
Like, it's obviously a big part of who I am. It's a big part of the fan base that I've built over the years, was my connection to the Mavs fans.
Yeah.
So it's like, cool, I can take that, and how do I grow that? Well, I need something else to gravitate them towards. Well, if I stick with drumming, maybe they'll follow me as a drummer as well.
Yeah.
So I got a hit up probably about 5 years ago to join a hip-hop band called the Boxer's Brain.
Mm-hmm.
And they were looking for a drummer.
Yeah.
So, sure, I'll give it a shot. I hadn't played drum set in a really long time at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I took a stab at it, and it worked really well. All of a sudden, I started getting calls to play drum set just as much as I was getting calls to do all the other drumline gigs in the area. And they literally just kind of just meshed into one another, where it was just another gig.
Yeah.
It's, what drums do I need to take from the house this day? Am I taking my drum set, or am I taking the marching drums with me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I always sympathize with the drummers. You know, you see them loading those things in. You know, it's a lot of gear
Yep.
to have to put. You know, the drummer's always the last guy breaking down, the first guy building up.
Yep.
You know, that's how it always is, man. So
But that's how we jammed for the first time too. I
Yeah.
wanted to get my gear set up early.
Yeah.
And it was like, you want to play? I was like, sure.
yeah, it's never bothered me. One of the things I used to when I would run sound over at Backyard on Bell last summer, I would sometimes sneak some of my music in there, like while after the drummer was set up, because every once in a while the drummer would start playing over a beat that I had made, and I always liked to hear like what they would do and what fills they would put in. You know, when they're just kind of like having a
yeah.
good time practicing. A few guitarists would play over stuff, and I'm like, oh man, I really wish I had that riff, you know, right now.
You
So,
should.
man, how did you get involved? You know, you're talking about the Maverick fans and things of that nature. How did you get involved with the Mavericks to begin with? What was that process like?
I had dropped out of school around, again, it's like 2007, 2008-ish. And I needed money. My parents, my parents did not support that trip at all.
Yeah.
So I needed money. One of the individuals named Brandon White, he was one of the founders of the group. He supplied me with like 2 weeks of just straight gigs. Like, hey, we've got a gig on Monday, we've got a gig on Wednesday, we got a gig on Thursday, got a gig on Saturday. And I just kept saying yes.
Yeah.
I'll do them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wherever they're at, just shoot me the address, the attire, I'll be there.
Yeah.
And I did them for like 2 weeks straight. And he's like, dude, I think I can trust this guy. So he started giving me drums and having me run these gigs about a month later. And one of the gigs I got a call for was to be at the American Airlines Center, which I think is like 1500 Victory Street. Like, show up at this address.
Yeah.
You'll park in this parking lot, use my name. So I had to show up as B. White. Which you could imagine had the security guard like,
Yeah.
you're B. White? Like,
Yeah.
Yep, I'm Brandon White.
That is I.
That is I am him. So, and I still had no idea what, like, I knew where I was, but I didn't even know there was a Mavs game at the time. Like, basketball was the furthest thing on my mind at that point. If it wasn't playoffs, I didn't care about basketball at the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool. Dude shows up, I was like, hey, AC, you need this to get in. It's like a badge, and it has Brandon White's name on it. I'm like, oh, I'm doing a Mavs game. And
That's cool, man.
And then I just kind of I just separated myself from the drummers that were there because I was a bit younger. So my initial thing was to enjoy the gig and just go and say hi to any and everybody who wanted to, like, who looked like they wanted to say something to us but couldn't or wouldn't or were afraid. Or and my thing was to just be super personable, like, hey, I'm AC. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And people remember that young guy.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's I always wonder how those things happen. You know, it's so interesting those connections that you can just randomly make. You know, where it's like, oh, I knew this guy, and then I left school, and then I needed money, and that's when all of a sudden, at like this most intense critical point of needing money, where everything came together.
Just came together.
I've had similar experiences, man, where in the past where I've been sitting there like, oh man, I don't. Okay, what are you gonna do, man? Like you just left the job that you've had for like 3.5 years, and then all of a sudden it's just like call, and I'm like, oh, I'm booked for this month, and then it happens, and then it keeps going. So it's interesting how sometimes if you just take those risks, you know, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a thing in the universe or something, but or if you just get to the, like, whenever your back is against the wall in a way, you just start fighting back, and you're like, I'm gonna find whatever it takes, you know. And so you get those gigs, and then you stayed consistent on it, which then makes him want to give you more gigs, you know, seeing that he can, you know, trust you. So I think that's a big thing to be said about how to get into, you know, not just the music business as in getting to play gigs, but kind of doing what you get to do, which is where you get to travel all to these different gigs and play these different things and have these different experiences with all different types of people, you know. So it very rarely gets stale.
No,
you know?
Absolutely. Like now 12, 13 years into it.
Yeah.
Like for me, the gig is definitely stale to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But I've seen it in like all types of peaks and valleys. So it's like, I'm sure with this level of like where it is right now, something good's going to come from it.
Yeah.
Question is, are we going to be ready for it when it happens? So I mean, I've always been a big proponent of like when one door shuts, that just means another one hasn't been opened yet.
Yeah.
And my goal was always to leave a foot in every door. Like I don't ever want to shut a door. Like I love the fact of having options. Options make the man. Like
yeah. So when did you start to notice that like turning point, you know, where, you know, you're like, oh, I'm doing a Mavs game. And so you do that one, and then was it so how did you continue being able to do those kind of gigs?
I took the gig to fill in for a bass drummer at first. And I'm a bass drummer. That's what I specialized in when I was marching.
Okay.
So I took that gig. Brandon finagled his way into adding 2 more people into the line, except they were going to roam the upstairs of the arena. They're going to go with they call them the rowdy crowd.
Okay.
So if you ever go to a game and you just start hearing people randomly yell up top in like one specific area, that's because of them.
Okay.
So we were supposed to travel with them throughout the hallways and the concourse and go up into the stands and just like rally them onwards.
Yeah.
And just continue and do that the whole game. So Brandon needed somebody who could be there to take that gig and say, this is going to be your spot. So if you can't do this, find somebody who can, but this is your spot. So me and the guy named Todd Jackson, we took that, and that was our gig. When a spot opened up on where the standard drum line sits and stands, they needed a quad drummer. I played quads in high school. I learned all the quad parts because I knew those guys were going to be old at some point and they're going to have families and have other commitments. So when that happened, don't call somebody else. I'm already here. I'd rather find somebody to take that gig upstairs, which doesn't require us to learn any music, and just learn that.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm always going to be there. So I became easily accessible.
Nice.
So I could play in all the bass stuff. I can play all the quad stuff. I could figure out the snare stuff, but they have plenty of snare hands.
Yeah.
So I became always there, always available, and always ready.
There you go.
Like that was my gig. So if I wasn't doing that, I was teaching during the day or waiting tables.
Right on, man. Has there ever been like one of your favorite memories from those games or those experiences?
My favorite, obviously, was the playoff run in 2011.
Okay.
Which was crazy because I caught the first round. I caught the second round. And come finals time, like I literally was there for like the first game before I was teaching drum corps, so I had to go and teach.
Okay.
Which sucked so bad. But I got one game of the finals.
Okay.
And showing up and like we're all decked out in our gear and just seeing the whole arena just completely blued out. Just everybody's there just rocking all their blue. It was just nuts. Craziest thing about it was when they won that game 4, we were at a bar somewhere 2011. I'll say it was Natalia, I think. We were in somewhere like an hour away from like San Antonio. And we're watching the game. Mavs just win. I'm going nuts. Everybody else is just like, I guess the Mavs got one. We're good. We're keeping it in Texas. Me, on the other hand,
I was going crazy.
I was going nuts.
Yeah.
So they flip it over to ESPN, and they do like the whole like the montage, the championship montage. The very first picture they show is of me from game 1, like panning out from like the back to the crowd.
Oh, nice.
So I'm clear in the shot that has the final score on the bottom of it, and it's like, yep, I was there. Don't care what anybody says.
Yeah,
I was there.
That was me. I was there, man. I'm gonna admit it, and I'm sorry for this, but I was at Hooters.
It's okay.
When they won that. Well,
it's completely okay.
The funny story behind it is we went all over the place. Me and my homies trying to find a spot. My buddy Bob just kept going, look, man, let's just go to Hooters. Got great wings. There's going to be plenty of seating. And finally we were just like, all right, man, let's go there. You know, we hit all the other spots. And so we roll in. We got sat right away. Service was great. You know, Mavs won the game, baby. So, you know, shout out. It was fantastic. We actually kept going there for games afterwards, like Stars games and stuff, because no one, like, you could always get sat, you know?
Why would you go anywhere else? That's the number one key to going to a place to watch a game is, can I get sat?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I was like, you know, am I going to tell that story where I was when the Mavs won? Yes, I will.
That's all right. It's 10 times better than mine. We were at some bowling alley eating like dollar hot dogs.
I'll have to tell you know, the kids one day. I'll have to be like, look, you know, your grandfather, I was face deep in some spicy wings, and then those beautiful boys in blue won the championship.
And that's what you were focused on, Granddad? Yes.
Yes, exactly. Exactly what I was focused on. That's awesome, man. It's, you know, that's a really cool experience to be able to, you know, not only, you know, do something that you love, but get to experience, you know, an event like that, you know, the playoffs of sorts. And so how have you branched out? You know, you said get noticed. So you got noticed at the Mavs game. You know, people are starting to notice, so you getting those gigs. How did you start to kind of use that, you know, your experiences to get noticed in other places?
Social media really does a lot of that for us nowadays. Like I get tagged in 1,000 different things. So with one of those tags comes like, oh, I didn't know you. Awesome. Let me reach out and talk to you. Let me see what you're about. Like, oh, you've noticed me from here. That's awesome. You saw me with the Boxer's Brain, but you didn't know who the Boxer's Brain was. You just saw that I made a post about a show, so you came out and watched the show.
Yeah.
Now that you know that they exist, I'm also in a folk band named Loyal Sally. You should come and watch Loyal Sally.
I've seen both.
Yeah. And they're both fun acts.
Yeah.
Completely different acts.
Yeah, totally.
But really fun. And that was something that I didn't realize that I was doing, was spreading myself really far as like different taste of things. Because now I also drum for a Latin band called Maita.
And you played over like almost like funk dubstep that night when I was DJing.
Yeah.
Because when you were playing, I was like, okay, I need something for this guy to really go over. And like, there's these two producers, they go by Cone Sound. And I was scrolling through my buddies because I didn't have my computer or anything. I was just scrolling through the mix, and I was like, this one. And then you just tore it up. So,
dude, I can drum over anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. The man can play over anything.
It's fun. Like, at the end of the day, like, it's fun. It's a job, but it's only a job when you start getting paid, like, religiously for it. Like, if I show up expecting to get paid X amount per show, that's a job.
Yeah.
That with you was fun. And that's something that I feel like I've lacked in a while, was like, not that I'm not having fun with all these shows and the practices, but that's becoming a job. I don't get to have fun doing this very often.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I have the stuff that I do that's more of a job. Like when wedding season comes around, I have fun at those weddings. the same way that you have fun at those other gigs that are more of a job, because I'm not going to go there and do what we did. I'm going to go there and be professional and stand and play the list that I know that I need to play and take the requests that I know I need to take. It's a job.
Exactly.
If I'm playing at like a club and it's a 3-4 hour set, that's a job.
That's a job.
It's not like this, I'm going to play all my music for an hour and it's going to be this, fun feel, or I'm just going to randomly, this drummer's going to set up and then kill it behind me. So I completely understand with what you mean with those two, and you gotta have that fun too,
right.
But yeah, I think some of the most fun that I have are, when you just have that, you're not expecting it, just
Correct.
like that night, So I've had those experiences, with you and with a couple other, with the boombox that happened.
Yeah.
Those
dudes
guys
are fun.
Yeah, exactly. So those dudes all played behind one of my tracks, and they had never heard it before. But of course, as soon as it played, they were like, "Oh yeah, we got it."
Yep.
The drummer was behind me, just killing it
down.
So one question that I do that I'm gonna kind of backtrack a little bit here is your parents seem to have been very supportive of the drumming.
Yes.
And that's one thing that I always find interesting about drummers is drums. They're just like naturally loud. But were you practicing more like on an academic base, like at school, or were you also practicing at home?
Ooh, both.
Okay.
I annoyed the heck out of my parents. My mom liked it because that meant I was out of trouble. If she could hear me,
she knew you were there.
She knows I'm there. She knows I'm not getting into anything because she can hear me.
Yep.
She was also my biggest fan. She was at every single event I ever did, whether it was jazz band concerts or marching band concerts. Like, she was always there. So always very supportive. So she knew what I was practicing for all the time. When it came time to like practice like drum set stuff like that, it was, well, all right, you're going to church.
Yeah.
So I went to church to literally watch drums, study drums, and jam with musicians when the opportunity arose. And
that's what's up.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's where a lot of dudes really get their start at too. So it's like we all have that. We're all under a tree of church musicians.
Yeah. It seemed like mom kind of saw the drums as a way to keep an eye on you. In a
Absolutely.
Way. She's like, oh, okay. So he likes the drums. So as long as I can find a place where I'm at and drums are at the same time, my son's not going to get crazy and out of control.
Exactly. You can't helicopter an ADD child, but you continuously throw things at him to keep him intrigued.
I used to frustrate my grandparents because like I would play a different sport like every birthday it would come around. They'd be like, I'd be like, I need some, I'd be like, oh, I want rollerblades. They'd be like, rollerblades. I'd be like, yeah, I want to play roller hockey. I'd be like, what? 6 months later, Christmas rolls around. I'm like, hey, I need cleats. Like, what do you need cleats? I'm gonna play soccer.
Yeah.
I need the gloves too. I might be a goalie. I don't know. So yeah, man, I can understand that. I was always, bouncing off. I wanted to play drums as a kid, but it was just too loud. My parents weren't about it. I never even had a drum set. I just like would create like my own little thing and then bang on stuff. And even that, folks were like,
oh yeah, I had pots and pans, spoons. I played.
The spoons, yes.
The spoons.
Maybe they would have appreciated washboard.
I think they would have.
They might have liked the washboard. So are there other forms of percussion that you also play as well? Because you say you play in a Latin band. So when I think of, I know what you're playing when you're playing with the Mavericks and kind of in a marching band. And I've seen you play with Loyal Sally and Boxer's Brain. So is there additional things that you have to add when you're playing with different bands, or things you have to take away?
It depends on the set. Usually with hip hop sets, I take away more because it's just unnecessary because literally nobody's there to see me.
You're there to drive the beat.
Exactly. I'm here to add to what the MC is doing.
Be in the pocket. Yeah.
Exactly. Like if he tells me to open up, I'm going to open up. But that crowd doesn't want to see me like do all this crazy stuff. No, they want to see me do stuff that they think they can do. So my goal is to give them what they think they can do, show out a little bit, and I'm right back in the track because it's his show.
Stay in the pocket.
Exactly. It's his show, not my show.
Yeah.
And I think that mindset is what's kept me going in the area, especially as like a freelancer, where I'll just like show up to gigs like, what do you need? Like, what are you wanting from me? Are you wanting like a full drum out experience? If that's the case, I can bring everything. I can bring all my cymbals. I can bring all the drums. Or do you just want me to just, keep you in time and add to the show.
What do you think it is that gives you that ability to kind of like set the ego aside and just be like, what do you need from me? What do you think, like, where does that come from?
Being broke.
Okay. Yes.
Like being broke and definitely not wanting to be broke again.
And then seeing where those opportunities, when you take whatever opportunity, seeing where it gets you.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, might as well just accept it all.
Exactly. Like when I joined Maita, the Latin Peruvian rock group, I got a call, and this call sucked. So I got a call to do the gig. I was on the road to Dayton, Ohio to work a convention. I had no time to set up, practice anything. I had a rehearsal the day after I got back. So I was gone for a week, came back for a day. That same day I got back, I had a practice with them. So I had a week to study music from other drummers. And it's just the most, like, locked in, awesome, like, I'm freaking out at this point.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I can play folk. I can do some hip-hop stuff. I can learn what other people play. I can learn patterns pretty well. But these dudes were just like, that's them. Like, that's their style of music.
Yeah.
So it's like I show up, and it's like it was a train wreck. It was a complete, in my opinion, it was a train wreck. But to fast forward, I'm still there.
Yeah. They gave you another shot.
Well, it's not even like they gave me another shot. It was, I asked, like, what are you guys expecting? Are you wanting me to show up with exactly what this guy did? Is that what everybody's studying to, listening to? Like, that's where all their cues are. Like, if so, I can learn it, but I'm going to need like another week and a half, 2 weeks to get this down.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Or are y'all going to be solid and I'm going to show up and play in time?
Yeah.
And they go, show up and play in time.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay.
So the next practice, I showed up, played in time, and I just grew into the gig over time, and they continuously called me because I gave them exactly what they wanted. So it's more of a trial by error to say, like, I say that I'm as humble as I am because of the gigs that I've been given, and I've continued to get the calls off of those gigs because I give whoever's paying me what they want.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, it's not about me.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have said, this is a job.
Right.
At times it can be a job. Yeah, man, that makes a lot of sense as far as, what do you want? I mean, that's, especially when I'm doing like events, if I'm doing an event or this or that, it's pick 20 songs that you like. If I'm just strictly DJing, pick 20 songs that you like, and then I will compile a huge list from those 20 songs. That's what I need. Just tell me what you want. I've actually done a wedding before, where the bride said, I don't want to hear the wobble. She was like, just don't play the wobble.
That's awesome.
She was like, and please no cha-cha slide. And,
Also awesome.
And then I did my buddies, and he was like, he goes, I don't want to hear Wagon Wheel. And later on that night, all his buddies were like, play Wagon Wheel, man. Play it. I'm like, no, he told me not to. He's like, come on, do it. I'm like, this is his day. Right. This is his day. Y'all want to play Wagon Wheel later? You can do that, but I'm not doing that right now.
You plug your phone into the aux cord.
Yeah, exactly. I always carry. I take a mixer with me to run my PAs and stuff through, but I always bring that dual quarter-inch to aux just in case there's that song that doesn't exist.
Right.
Like I'll be mixing and stuff, but every once in a while I'm like, and then I'll just go to Spotify and pull it up. But if for some reason somebody wants, like, I don't know, the track 2 on the Frozen soundtrack or something like that, it's probably out there, but I'm not if you got that on your phone, just plug right in here, you'll be good to go.
I understand completely.
Yeah, for sure. So, man, you've played in so many different things. I mean, Latin groups, hip hop groups. Loyal Sally is more of a folk group, and then you're teaching as well. And so, what is some of the things fundamental stuff that you like to teach your students? As far what's kind of the way that you approach that?
I've always considered what I taught was life studies through the art of percussion. Like, I'm going to teach you how to hit a drum, but if all you take from our time together is how to hit a drum, then I failed you.
Yeah, completely.
Like, because I didn't work for the school districts at the time. There were nowadays they have these things called parapositions, where basically these dudes show up, they teach kids to hit drums, and they get paid by the district. They bounce.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
That wasn't a thing when I was teaching. But that's basically exactly what I did was I taught kids, except I taught on the behalf of the band booster parents. So I taught for the parents, so I could literally teach their kids the way that their kids need to be taught without being supervised by the district.
Okay.
And therefore, the boosters paid me.
Yeah.
Issue was boosters never really pay on time. So I had to bounce from that and took a real job.
Yep, exactly.
But what I taught them was life studies through the art of percussion. Standard. Your word is bond. It's the strongest statement amongst musicians ever. Mm-hmm. If you break your word as a musician, like all you have is your name. Mm-hmm. So your name will forever be synonymous with the fact that you flaked, or you folded at a gig, or you showed up completely unprepared. Like those type of things will haunt you.
Yeah.
So day one, it's tell me what you want, and we'll get there.
Yeah. I've seen some unfortunate times where I've seen people show up and I don't know what happened, but just very unprepared, and I yet to see I don't see those people get gigs again very often.
Yeah.
You know, a few here and there, but yeah, I've seen that happen, you know, a few times, and yeah, you got to show up prepared and ready to do the job that you've been asked to do, basically.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's rule number one of being a musician is understanding your job and showing up and doing said job. If you do said job well, there will be more opportunities because people will notice. And if they don't notice, then time to switch it up.
Yeah. So what do you think were some of the ways that you got noticed? I mean, you were nominated in the Dallas Observer Music Awards, and congratulations on that. You know, we talked a little bit about that before the show, but you know, what are some of the tactics that you used to get noticed,
And that's
especially on that kind of scheme?
See, that's the thing. Like that still baffles me because to this day I have no idea. And people say I'm humble to a fault, and it's like that's fair. You could say that, or I can claim ignorance. Like I've been doing what I've been doing for so long that I'm surprised that I think other people noticed outside of who I directly know.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't know you through the Mavs, or if you haven't been to a Loyal Sally show often, or if I haven't just run into you in random circles, chances are we don't know each other, but you know of me. And apparently you knowing of me means that you spoke to somebody, which means that person would have spoken to somebody, which means that person would have spoken to somebody.
Yeah.
So whoever it is that spoke to whomever works for the Dallas Observer, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you.
Yeah. What's so interesting about that, like because like that's what I mean. You're just kind of sitting at home one day, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got nominated. Like that's what your Facebook post was like when I saw that. You were like, I guess I got nominated. This is cool. And I was like, oh, word. Like that's awesome. And you know what's cool about getting nominated is exactly kind of what you said. It just happens. You know, and it is kind of it's one of those. I'm not going to say that it's as good as winning, you know, because it's
Definitely
not. That's a lie. But it's one of those experiences, just like you said, where you're like, oh, what? Who's paying attention?
Right.
You know. So yeah, man, it's they do the Denton Art and Music Awards up here, and so it's always a really fun experience. It's going to be happening in February again. I've won an award one year. A bunch of my buddies have won stuff. It's always like a great time. But that first year they ever did it, you know, my name popped up in one of the categories, and I was like, what? Huh?
Right.
What? And then when I actually won, like my buddy Leland from Mojo had to accept the award for me because I was DJing my residency down in Dallas.
Funny how that works.
Yeah. So I was like, you know, and then my buddy Lofty won Best Producer this year, and so it's, you know, those kind of shows and those experiences are really fun. They grow the community, and they also, you know, it's a good thing. It grows confidence in a way because it makes you as a musician or as a writer, producer, filmmaker, whatever you're doing when you're a part of one of these kind of award ceremonies, it gives you that bit of validation.
Right.
And whether we want to say we do it if we lived in the woods or whatever, I'm nobody sure. We might, but that validation never hurts.
It never hurts. It always feels good. I think the craziest thing about like all of that experience was the day I found out, because it wasn't like you received something in the mail or like an isolated email saying, hey, you've been nominated. It was, I'm sitting at my desk at work and my phone just starts going off the hook. Bzz, 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 bzz. And nothing good comes when your phone's just ringing off the hook. So my head just goes to the immediate worst. I'm immediately thinking like, oh man, is my dad all right? Stepmom's good. Cousin's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
you start freaking out.
I look at my phone and everybody's just saying congrats. I'm like, congrats for what? Like, I seem to be the last person to know.
Yeah, that's awesome though, dude. That happens. And what was what was the experience like? When you went there, like, was there red carpet? What was the whole show kind of like?
It was cool. We all got frisked at the door. For all the right reasons.
Yeah.
We were out up at Canton Hall. It was my first time in Canton Hall as well.
Okay.
But I was surrounded with people that I'd known. I had a circle of crew that were all nominated. Jordan Henderson was nominated for like best songwriter with the High Moons. Me was a drummer. The FNAs were nominated for best funk and best stage show, I believe. And I'm real good with. That's my favorite local band is the FNAs.
Okay.
So like, we were all there together. So, and of course, we brought a couple of our friends. My dad drove up from Houston.
Nice. Okay.
Complete surprise. Like, he surprised me in the parking lot. Like, I just happened to be parking as he was getting out of his car and walking in. It was like, so
yeah, I saw you posted that. You're like, Pops just cruised up out of nowhere. That's
did.
cool, man. Very cool.
So the whole experience was just like, it was a bit surreal. I rarely ever get dressed up anymore. This is exactly what I wear to work.
Yeah.
T-shirt, khakis, nice shoes.
Yeah, you had the tie on and all, man.
Yeah, I threw a tie on. I had a
Yeah.
nice little cardigan looking.
Yeah, it was a good outfit, man.
Yeah, I threw some J's on today. It was a good day.
It was fly. It was fly.
It was, and I enjoyed that. I strangely enjoyed dressing up. Like, I didn't think I would. I enjoyed being there and surrounded by a slew of musicians. Like, that was cool. That was very comforting.
Yeah, it's a fun energy.
Fun
energy. To be around all that.
And to know that it's all here. Like, and that's just like a sector of the DFW.
Yeah.
Like, but they were all there together. And that doesn't happen very often. So what I appreciated most, even more so than the awards, was the actual showcase that happened like that Saturday before, where all the groups that were nominated performed in some part of Deep Ellum. So I performed as well. So like my goal was to see how far I can branch out and catch how many acts I could catch. And
nice.
Because I never get a chance to catch those acts because I'm usually performing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yep. I know exactly what you mean. Buddy calls you, hey, I got a gig this weekend. When? It's Friday. Me too. What time are you playing? 7? What time do you play? 7:30? Man.
Tell me when the next one is.
Yeah, well, maybe you can make the second half of the set. Yo, man, unfortunately, sound guy got here late. I got to go on it at when you're starting. And, man.
Story of life.
Yeah.
That is life.
Exactly, man. So, man, you've had kind of like almost like this, drummer's life, where for a very long time your life has been lived behind, 6 to 8 drums, different pieces of percussion. Where do you see yourself going from this point? You've been you say I've been doing this for a long time. So where do you continue to grow from here?
I want to find that one act that gets noticed by someone outside of the DFW. And I want to tour. I want to do exactly what I do here elsewhere. Whether that's me just performing or me just being on the road with set performer. Because, the venue's too small and we don't really want to set up to having another drummer there. It's like, cool, dude. I just want to be there so I can meet people, talk to people. Because that's when people get the most out of me. Like, you get to see a product when I'm drumming, but you get the full me experience when we just get to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And that's what makes people like me. It's because I'm a talker.
Yeah.
I like talking to people. I like meeting people. I like hearing their stories. I like hearing what made them get into the music. What made them come out to this venue tonight?
You should start a radio show.
You
just
might
like
be onto
I
something.
did.
You might be onto something. You might be onto something.
That's very cool, man. I mean, I've told people because I've had people ask, they're like, hey, how do you get gigs? How did you do this? How did you get this? How did you get this? And I've always told them that, like, I never started off as a DJ. I made beats, and then I would perform those beats. Like, I had a keyboard and my laptop and some drum pads, and that's how I would perform. And then, I got asked to DJ some stuff. That happened. But I think that, kind of like you said, is, and my dad has said this before, is like, if people like you, being liked can actually go a little bit further than being talented sometimes.
It absolutely can.
Now, in you and I's case, we've got both going on here.
Hey.
No, I just felt like my old man right there saying that.
That's all. I feel my dad. I feel my old man come out of me all the time, dude. It's all good.
But man, it's this is just like you said. It's fun to have these conversations, to learn about people, where they come from. That's why I do this right here. It's and I'm glad you're a talker, because sometimes I'll ask a question and the answer is like 5. It's just 5 words, and I'm like, no, I need substance.
No,
man.
go deep.
Substance.
Go deep.
So yeah, man, don't. I've had some people that are like, I hope I didn't talk too much. I'm like, it's an interview.
You're supposed to.
I'm talking to you. I'm asking you the questions here. So man, you've got other kind of gigs in line. What else do you have going on for the rest of the year?
Man, I'm taking it month to month.
Okay.
As of today's Tuesday.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, today's still Tuesday. I have got a Mavs game tomorrow. I've got a rehearsal Thursday. I have a Maita show on Friday at the Foundry, 8 to 10. Should be a lit show. So if you're not doing anything from 8 to 10.
The
Foundry.
Nice.
We're playing there. And then the 16th, Gloat Entertainment's putting on a coat drive at Club Dada.
Nice.
We did this last year, like somewhere in like Fort Worth. I forgot what the name of the venue was. Wasn't far from TWU. I remember that much. Go figure. But we're happening at Dada, and Loyal Sally's going to be playing. It's going to be a slew of different rap acts, and all for charity. Like, I'll be donating a couple coats.
Nice. Very cool, man.
It's obviously got me a really nice-looking cardigan I can get rid of some.
I saw that cardigan, man. That's cool, man. You branch out all over the place doing all those all the different things, and it's all through the voice of percussion. So that's really cool. You've ever since your mom noticed that, you've used drums as a vessel to kind of guide you through this life. And
absolutely.
So that's pretty cool, man. That's cool. The last question that I do have for you tonight is, what is your favorite snack, man?
Dude, the always go-to is cereal.
Cereal. Do you have a favorite cereal?
Now this goes back to all types of like inner children comfort.
Yeah.
Waffle Crisp.
Oh, dude.
Yes, I know.
Do you actually know a place in the DFW to buy Waffle Crisp?
No, I can't find them in the DFW.
You can order it online.
You can order it online.
I have ordered boxes.
Yep.
All right, so I got to tell you a real funny story. My girlfriend right now, the reason she liked me so much was because first night we ever hung out, she told me her favorite cereal was Waffle Crisp.
I like her already.
We were sitting there like this, and so we were just chilling, just talking, and she was like, I'll wait. And I was like, yeah, you'll wait for your box of waffle. And she said, like, I had ordered a box of Waffle Crisp. She was like, I can't find it in DFW, so I just went and ordered it. And then, like, 2-3 months later, she tells me, she was like, hey, she's like, we're out of Waffle Crisp. She's like, so I just ordered like 8 boxes of it.
Oh, my God. She's such a keeper.
My whole pantry is full of Waffle Crisp.
That's the win, bro.
You are the first person to ever say Waffle Crisp. That's incredible.
Crazy. One of the guys on my bass line, he was a bass 3, Scott Mayer, asked me what I wanted for my birthday. I tell everybody I want the same thing. I want a pair of socks with my initials on them. He was the only person I said, I want a box of Waffle Crisp cereal. And he goes, it's crazy because I swear Lubbock is the only place that sells them regularly. So he bought like 6 boxes of Waffle Crisp and sent them to me for my birthday.
I don't know where Post is hiding this stuff, but Post, bring it back.
Bring it back.
We want Waffle Crisp, and we want it now.
Now.
Oh, man.
Do it.
That's too funny. I've gotten a lot of spicy Cheetos and such, but I've never gotten Waffle Crisp. Oh, man, that's
the
beautiful.
win.
You cracking me up with that one, man. Well, dude, Aaron, Mr. AC Capers, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, man. You've had an incredible life so far just through the experience of percussion and drums, so I wish you most success in the future, my man. And, just enjoy the rest of 2019, dude. Or 2018. We're going into 2019.
We're going into 19.
Woo!
Yeah, 19 is going to be a big one.
That's getting scary. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where we're all going to finally, we're going to blow up. We're going to get big that year.
I keep saying, man, if I make it, we make it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, y'all. I will see y'all next time. Y'all stick around right here on DentonRadio.com. We got Ellie Bell and the Denton Vibe coming up next. Peace. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out DentonRadio.com for new Denton artists and where they're playing next. While you're surfing the internet, make sure you check out our friends Classic of Denton at ClassicofDenton.com.